Well, everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer. Welcome to the Wasteland, my weekly show where I take a deep dive into a particular film. And it is John Carpenter time, and we're doing something a little bit different. As we're going to be talking about Starman, which honestly is one of his most different films, especially in this like prime time of his career that is quickly coming to an end in the next couple weeks as I'm talking about this. But I have my frequent collaborator and friend and somebody I know in real life, Foster.
Hello again. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And you all know Foster and Rowan are two of my go-to guests, so it's always a pleasure to have you on, Foster, and helping me out last minute. So, yeah, last minute watch Starman. But before we get into that, for those who haven't tuned in to Welcome to the Wasteland, we have three parts of this show. We do coming attractions, which this will be from March 17th, 2023, in the middle week of this crazy month of March that has some heavy hitters coming. And then we'll be talking about Starman, and we'll wrap things up with some recommendations. But Foster, which film for the 17th of March are you looking forward to?
The big one is Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I really, really like the first one. Um, actually, I think it's my favorite DC movie. Like starting from Man of Steel onward, like in the DCEU. So not counting
Mhm.
like the Batman, but I think it's just one of the few movies that feels like it was made by like real people. It just feels so wholesome and down to earth. And I think Zachary Levi's great. I think he's super
Mhm.
fun, and I like Jack Dylan Grazer is really fun too. He's like a perfect like
Yeah.
partner counterpoint. And then also I think that whole family was just so nice and wholesome, and it was
Mhm.
just a nice little representation for a nice sort of, it's like a foster family, right?
Mhm.
Um, also think David F. Sandberg is really cool. He's like one of my favorite. I wouldn't say he's like one of my favorite directors, but like one of my favorite voices, I guess. And like, because he has his YouTube channel and he just posts like really casual stuff, like explaining how he made Shazam. It's pretty cool. So,
Nice.
like, I think I would just watch anything he makes, honestly. My fear, I guess, for this movie is that it loses some of the down to earth, like humility, nice energy of the first movie in a desire to go like bigger, you know. But
I threw a I threw a card a dragon.
yeah. um I'm sure it'll still have a lot of that heart because of just all the people involved, but I just hope it doesn't get too ambitious. So there's some cool new cast members. I'm most excited for Rachel Ziegler. I think
Mhm.
I really like Rachel Ziegler. And I liked her a lot in West Side Story, and she's going to be Snow White too, which is interesting.
Mhm.
You've also got Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, Jimon Hansu's coming back. I hope he gets a little bit of a bigger role. Like
Instead of just being like, say my name, Shazam.
like ever since I watched Amistad with
Mhm.
on your show, and then thinking back to like all the other great stuff he's in, like Gladiator, he's so good and
Yeah.
really deserves to kind of be like the lead of a
Well,
movie.
you know how everybody's like he was so wasted in Quiet Place Part 2? Apparently, he's one of the main characters of the prequel.
Yes, I saw that.
Look at that subtle world building and franchise building that they put together there.
Yeah. Do you listen to this is a tangent, but I don't
Mhm.
imagine this episode will be too long. You know Chris Stuckman, the YouTuber?
Yeah.
He has a podcast that he just started where he interviews like people in the film industry. Coincidentally, he just did David F. Sandberg, but he
Oh,
also did
nice.
Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who wrote A Quiet Place. And I have kind of a new appreciation for them now after listening through that. They also did 65,
Yeah.
the Adam Driver movie.
Adam
Um,
Driver shoots dinosaurs.
I still need to see it. I kind of have a feeling I'm gonna like it more than everybody else because I kind of like big dumb silly things like that.
Wish it was more exciting.
I know that's what I'm hearing. But anyways, just thought I'd throw that out there. It's a fun podcast, and it only
It's
has
a
like a couple episodes because it just started.
it's a fun recommendation. And Chris Tuckman's great, so I'd definitely be interested in checking that out.
Yeah.
My top coming attraction for this weekend, which the two other films before I get into my pick, you have Moving On, which is the Jane Fonda Lily Tomlin comedy that's coming out this weekend about them trying to kill their best friend's widower.
They're in
Which is
everything together. They just did
yeah.
80 Brady. Are they also in the book club movie together?
No, Lily Tomlin's not in that, but
Okay.
Jane Fonda's having a year. But they did do Grace and Frankie
Yeah.
for all those years on Netflix, hitting that other demographic that like Stranger Things wasn't hitting. Uh,
Mhm.
so, but there's that, and then there's also Boston Strangler coming out on Hulu. But this one is 100% because of who's in it, and that's Inside, not by Bo Burnham, but starring Willem Dafoe, who's trapped in a penthouse after he tries to steal a bunch of very, very expensive and valuable art pieces. I actually got to see this on Monday, so I put this on my list before I saw it on Monday. It's something. So it is quite the experience to sit through hour and 45 minutes of. So, and of course, you get all the Willem Dafoe you could possibly want. Because like the whole entire movie is just Willem Dafoe. It was an interesting back to back because I did that and then I saw John Wick last night.
Oh, you
All
saw the fourth one? I'm kind of jealous.
all 3 hours of absolute bliss that I had sitting and watching that in IMAX. Because that's what the press screening was on. I'm like, felt every car revving up, every bullet shot, every sword clanging together. But I get to talk about that next week. Which obviously, spoiler alert, is 100% going to be my most anticipated release for next week. So there you go. But those are coming attractions. Now it's time for our feature film, which is John Carpenter's Starman, which this was written by Bruce A. Evans, Reynold Gideon, and uncredited Dean Reisner. So, like, this wasn't written by John Carpenter, it's directed by John Carpenter. It wasn't even scored by John Carpenter. So, and you can definitely tell this was one of his bigger budgeted studio kinds of films. But the basic gist is Jeff Bridges is the deceased husband of Karen Allen, and an alien comes to the planet and takes his form, and he needs her to help him get to a place to go home. So basically, this is adult ET. Uh, and Jeff Bridges is ET instead of a shriveled up, like wrinkly little alien that eats Reese's pieces. So, isn't that an interesting way to think about this, Foster?
It's side note, just from reading IMDb trivia, apparently these two scripts, E.T. and Starman, were like in development at the same time, and they just had to like at random they picked E.T. to go first. So it seems like this was kind of copying a lot of stuff from E.T., but I think actually it was just kind of a crazy coincidence.
It was one of those deep impact Armageddon type situations where it's just like, wow, two movies about the same thing came out.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is going for a different demographic, and then also when you throw John Carpenter in, you're getting a very different feel than E.T. But what's interesting to me, before I get let you talk about your general thoughts, is it's a very different tone for John Carpenter. It's a very different kind of film for him. But Foster, what were your general thoughts on Starman?
I thought this was surprisingly sweet, which is
Right?
not really what I thought I was getting into because I had heard of this movie. I didn't know anything about it other than Jeff Bridges was in it. But this was really nice. I liked it a lot. I wouldn't say it blew me away necessarily. It's kind of straightforward, but it seems like one of those like right place, right time kind of movies where if it hits you in the right moment, it could be like an all-time favorite type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're in a state, you might you might really connect with this one. And so Jeff Bridges got nominated for this. That's interesting. And I also just clearly I scrolled IMDb trivia right before hopping on here, but this is the only Oscar nomination I think any John Carpenter movie has gotten. I think that's if that's correct, what I read.
That's disappointing to me. I feel like along like did they not have visual? Did they not have effects Oscars when The Thing was released? Because I'm a little concerned that like that got completely overshadowed
Yeah,
there.
I'm gonna fact check to make sure that the thing didn't get any
It's
nominations, but
definitely the only acting Oscar that's ever been nominated for any John Carpenter film. Because like that's the thing. How many films of his do you think like, oh my god, the performance is like the biggest star of the movie? Usually it's John Carpenter's the biggest star of the movie.
Mhm.
Which I think that's an interesting dynamic here too, because like I really feel like Carpenter does some Carpenterisms. There's a lot less like creeping camera POV type stuff, which is like his trademark that really helps him build tension. There's definitely some moments where it's like shocking in terms it gets violent nowhere
well,
and stuff
they
like that.
do. The one that got me is it goes all American Werewolf in London, right when Jeff Bridges is born at the beginning, or like when
Yes,
he takes the human form.
that is the most John Carpenter thing in this whole entire movie.
Yeah.
Like easy. But what I really appreciate about this film, which is I think odd for me because how much I love like John Carpenter as a filmmaker, is Bridges and Allen. Like, first of
Hmm.
all, Jeff Bridges is doing something special here because
Hmm.
like he has to go all in on this character, which is inhuman, very awkward and weird, and also what gives one of my favorite line deliveries in the history of cinema. It's like red means stop, green means go, yellow means go very, very fast.
Yeah.
When he learns how to
Yeah.
drive, which that's the funniest line in like the whole movie.
Yeah.
But like Jeff Bridges just has this charisma, and there's something about the little choices he makes in his performance
Yeah. Hmm.
physically, like
Like
all
head
the weird,
jerks.
like the
Yep.
everything about it. And this movie made me want to scream at Hollywood. How did you do Karen Allen so dirty? Because like from the opening couple minutes where you see her watching this video of her dead husband, there's so much emotion there and there's so much pain, and you're just like, damn, Karen Allen could really act.
Hmm.
And like, I know her from this and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I
Hmm.
guess technically Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too. But
Yeah.
like, it's like, where did she go? Because she was so great in this film, and they have such an interesting and weird dynamic, and it really works. And there's something just so tragic and heartbreaking about a performance. And then there's some moments in this film that feel so uplifting and moving. Like there's something special. Like there's a scene with a dead deer
Hmm.
that really changes the whole entire film from that point, and
Yeah.
the dynamic between the two of them. And for a film from John Carpenter, there's a great appreciation for humanity in this and what the goodness and humanity can possibly offer. And I appreciate that about this film. And a little shout out to Charles Martin Smith, who from The Untouchables,
Yeah.
and
I recognized him and I had to look it up afterwards, and it was The Untouchables.
then the director of Dolphin Tale and A Dog's Purpose.
He directed those? That I did not know. That's
Yep,
news to me.
he's actually a director now, like full blown director at this point,
Okay.
and he's directed some interesting. He directed Airbud.
He's got a wheelhouse, it seems.
Yeah, animals.
Yep.
Feel good family movies about animals.
Hmm.
But I guess Foster, what were some of the things that really stood out to you about the film?
I mean, I agree with you. It's them two. I think they're great. I would have nominated Karen Allen, maybe
Yeah,
even above Jeff Bridges, because she's really great. I mean, here's the thing: like the Jeff Bridges one is showier. It's
yes,
also like it so easily could have been goofy,
yeah.
and it's kind of hard to imagine like many other actors doing that well because it's like really over
No,
the top if you really think
yeah.
about
It's a
the
gimmicky
things he's doing.
performance,
Hmm.
and Karen Allen had to give something very raw and empathetic.
Yeah. Something in his eyes too. Like when she looks into his eyes, there's like a lot of warmth there, even behind the like kind of cold robotic movements that he has. Um, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's not a lot of like standout scenes. It is kind of like it's almost like a road trip movie at
It
some
is a
point.
road trip movie, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of just a nice vibe, actually, now that I'm thinking
Mhm.
about it. I think it's really pleasant. Like that's the word for it. I'd watch it again. And even though he didn't do the music, John Carpenter, I thought the music was nice. I noticed it at a few
Yeah.
points throughout. And I also, let me think. I will say the one, maybe one con, big spoiler, but when towards the end she gets pregnant with this Jeff Bridges, I did feel like that was a little sudden, and maybe she should be a little bit more like, I don't know, shocked or resistant to it, but she just kind of pretty quickly is like, seems just fine with it. It's like, that's not your husband.
Yeah, like narratively it feels rushed, but
Yeah.
thematically what it's going for, like I feel like it goes hand in hand, like the miracle that he does with the deer. I
Hmm.
feel like kind of opens that door. But you're right. It's like one scene they're in like a train or whatever, and she's like, I
Yeah.
can't have kids. And then it's like, hey, I got a gift for you. Boink. Just like pregnant.
Yeah, I think this is what I would have liked just a little bit more. And they do it a little bit, but I wish Jeff Bridges, they had his character and his performance gradually become more human-like, which it does, but I wish they did it even more because it's like by the end of the movie, he is still talking like this, and I wish
Yeah.
it like kind of would gradually slip into a point where you don't even
Just sounds like
realize
Jeff
it.
Bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, man. It just like
Like,
completely
just
changes.
like, I love you. And just like, dude abides, man.
Yeah. By the way, he's great. Like I was thinking about that.
I
I'm like, I can't believe these are all the same guy. Like I mean, he's been nominated a million times,
Jeff
so I guess
Bridges
he's
is
not underrated, but
legitimately one of my five favorite actors.
yeah.
Cause like he like they're in the same sense of Ryan Gosling has a couple of versions of Ryan Gosling.
Mhm.
Jeff Bridges has a couple of versions of Jeff Bridges. I feel like there's three Jeff Bridges. This one's different. Like obviously he's doing a very specific kind of performance, but you have like, yeah, man. Like that kind of like
Yeah.
cool Jeff Bridges, like the dude, which I'm pretty sure that's just Jeff Bridges on some level. You get the his newest trick is like the grizzly old, like gravelly, I'm in a neo western or like a traditional western kind of
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges. And that's like Crazy Heart and True Grit and RIPD, I guess, too.
Hell or High Water.
Hell or High Water. And then you have malevolent, intimidating Jeff Bridges, where I'm just like, oh crap, you scare the
Hmm.
crap out of me.
Hmm.
Like Obadiah Stane,
Hmm.
still think one of the most underappreciated Marvel villains.
Yeah.
Just the malice that he has in some of those scenes. I'm just like scaring me. And
Yeah.
like Tron Legacy has all of its issues, but like, and the CGI on Clue might not be the best now, but like that performance Jeff Bridges gives, he's intimidating. And then you have him as like older man Jeff Bridges, him just being the dude basically. But
Yeah.
like he has a lot of range for an actor, and he
Mhm.
seems like such a sweet dude. Just love him.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said before, I wish Karen Allen got more
Hmm.
out of Hollywood because like I know she was in Animal House for like a very small role in that
Yeah. When I
film.
looked at her on IMDb, I'm like, I've seen her, like I saw her in the bedroom, which I remember that she was in it. I don't really remember her at all, but like just kind of pops up here and there. But this is like the only time I've seen her in a like be the lead of a movie.
Mhm.
Yeah. Jeff Bridges though, also I haven't no, I have seen this. What am I saying? He's in a movie called The Contender and he plays the president. Apparently it's like Barack Obama's favorite depiction of a president or something like that. Um, that's another fun one. Um,
Fun little fact there.
yeah, I would have. So I was saying I would have liked if there was more of like a gradual change into him being almost indistinguishable from a regular human over the course of the movie, because to me that would have made the her like sleeping with him and then being really accepting of the baby like real, because
Mhm.
it's like she's almost forgetting, as are we, that he's not her husband, you know. Whereas like even towards the end, I'm like, are you looking at him? He's still doing the like jerky things. As
Yeah.
much as you're connecting with him, it's like that. I don't know, that I feel like I'm not completely sure. Maybe there is a purpose behind it, why they didn't do that, because it seems almost obvious to me, at least when I'm thinking through it, if I were writing this movie. Um, that's a
I guess
small
it
gripe
would have
though.
been odd that like he spends his whole entire movie turning human and then gets beamed up
Sure.
and like, well, off to home. And then he's just like talking like the dude for forever with all of his aliens.
Yeah. I wonder, maybe if he were turning more human, maybe they could have changed the ending and made it a little more melancholy, where maybe he's debating whether he should go back home once he finally gets there. That could have been pretty poignant.
Yeah, because like I feel like this script doesn't take a ton of chances
And it could
and
have gone
doesn't
deeper
get
with this premise, maybe too. It could have like really gone for the jugular.
and like it doesn't do anything particularly shocking or anything. And it does kind of like lean into like trying to hit the those feel good moments. And that's why I'm so surprised this is a John Carpenter film. It doesn't surprise me he
Yeah.
didn't write it. And I guess he was just trying to do something different because like after this, we get into because like my I think my next two episodes kind of wrapping things up here is Big Trouble in Little China and then doing Big Trouble in Little China and then Prince of Darkness and then They Live. And that kind of ends the prime of John Carpenter. And then things kind of just slowly start declining. And then by the time the Ward came out, it's just like, nah, I'm done.
Hmm.
Like we're done here. But I do really like this, and this one does strike a chord with me. Like this is definitely not by far my favorite John Carpenter film. There's some other films like it can't be with like Halloween and The Thing and stuff like that. But I do feel like this hits on a nice level that is unexpected from a Carpenter film. And I think that's nice. And you could even see a couple of like small performances from people that pop up in a lot of John Carpenter films. So like you can see those little Easter eggs of some of his frequent collaborators. But it's interesting to me thinking like John Carpenter was big enough in 1984 that he had Jeff Bridges starring in one of his
Yeah.
movies. So, but I guess Foster, do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to share about Starman?
Sure. These are quick. Just a couple things. That waitress is awesome. The one who helps out Karen
Yeah,
Allen. She was on it. I was like, you go.
yeah.
Um, MVP of the movie. Um, Number two, random thing. It's kind of Spielbergy. That's a feeling I got when watching this. Even
Mhm.
just like the lighting and the like the blues and the
Well, the
mistiness.
visual effects felt very close encounters.
Uh-huh.
And
E.T. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, it does have that Spielberg kind of feel for it.
Yeah, and then another thing I was gonna say is the effects are super dated, but it's honestly kind of charming. Like it's one of those where it's like you can see the like outline of him walking through the
Through the
fire.
fire. And like obviously it's done on purpose. It's
Uh-huh.
supposed to be this haloed effect, but like it feels so
Yeah,
80s, but like
yeah.
this movie feels so 80s. So it kind of
So
just like
yeah,
fits.
I kind of like that though, honestly,
Mm.
because it's like there's something nice about being able to see through the seams a little bit. It kind of, I don't know, brings it down to earth, makes it feel like the running theme for everything for me is I like when I can feel the people behind the movie.
Mhm.
And it feels like there's a lot of heart here. And then last thing, like you're saying, how different it is. I mean, this is only my fourth Carpenter movie now that I've seen, but I can tell it's not his usual thing. Apparently, it's because The Thing was not super well received at the time, and he wanted to do something a little bit more mainstream to show that he was marketable. So there you go.
And then he turned things right around to Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm gonna
done with
make the
that.
we're gonna make the
Done.
weirdest thing I could possibly think of,
Yep.
which we're all better for it. That movie is so weird,
Hmm.
but so charming. I look forward to chatting about that next week. But to wrap things up on this show, we always like to leave some recommendations, obviously besides Starman. But Foster, what would you like to recommend to everybody?
Okay, this is a real random movie. I think it's a Shudder original that came out
Yep.
last year, 2022, called A Wounded Fawn. So this is it's directed by Travis Stevens, who's done a couple small budget horror movies. I have not seen Girl on the Third Floor, but I have seen Jacob's Wife, which is also really fun. I mean,
I
maybe fun is
love
not the best
that
word for
movie.
yeah, that one's fun. This Wounded Fawn is not necessarily fun, but it's kind of a cool like low budget horror. Um, I think so this is really it feels really low budget, but it's like kind of works actually and makes
Mhm.
it a little bit more unsettling. The first half is a it's kind of like romance gone bad, where
Yep.
the guy takes this girl out to a cabin, and I mean there's red flags galore. There's actually a moment, did you see, yeah, in the movie they literally have a bunch of red flags that are hanging outside of his cabin. um and it's really really creepy. It's Josh Rubin. I'm on kind of a Josh Rubin kick right now,
Mhm.
who's the main guy in it, and is really really creepy, but he was doing all the College Humor stuff like 10 years ago and all the skits and everything. And I've just watched Werewolves Within. I actually watched it twice, like within the past month or so for
Oh,
the first time.
I love that movie.
Me too now.
It's so much fun.
And so he directed that. I still need to see Scare Me, which he directed, but that I know is on Shudder. I'm sure I'll like it. But I just think it's cool that he's doing all this stuff these past couple of years. He's a really cool guy, and he's also really, really funny. I mean, yeah, I've been watching like a lot of crazy clips and stuff of him the past couple of years. So, um, and this movie is like I said, first half is fairly straightforward but creepy, really 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 tense. And if that were the whole movie, I think I'd like it even more, but the second half takes this kind of wacky art house turn, which while I don't like it as much as the first half, I kind of respect it, because
Mhm.
I what it's trying to do is it takes this, I'm just mild spoilers, it goes into this like mythological turn, depicting like the Furies, the Greek Furies, which is like they punish men for their crimes or something. That's my
Mhm.
idiot's way of explaining it. But it's kind of interesting, and like some of the visuals are really 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 cool. And even though you can tell it's low budget, like their costumes and stuff are clearly made with like trash bags or whatever, it's like kind of cool and it really really works. And um yeah, great imagery. Like it's really really well shot and has great editing and sound and everything too. And I just love like low budget horror movies like that, because I find them more inspiring than something huge budget, because it's like you can see the like, oh my gosh, that's cool, I see how they did that, and it's
Mhm.
more fun. Like of course anybody can do anything with a like 20-30 million dollar budget compared to this. So it's more impressive in a way. But yeah, I would recommend it for any people who are into horror.
Yeah, head over to Shutter. Like Shutter in general, and I have Shutter screening room. So like I get whatever usually pops up.
Yeah.
Like there's some things that don't pop up. Like for some reason, maybe there was a reason they didn't put Children of the Corn in it.
Yeah, did you see Skinamarink?
That was something else.
Did you see that in the theater or at home?
Theater.
Yeah, that was a wild theater, because you could tell like half the people were like sitting scared and half the people were kind of laughing at it, because it really is one of those you're either in it or not type of
I
movies.
was in a AMC and it was like a 300 seat theater with 5 people in it. And I was like almost at the top, and I'm
Mhm.
just sitting there like, what am I watching?
Mhm.
And it's so creepy. Like from a
Yeah.
like a actual atmospheric and experiential thing, it's just
I thought it was really, really cool, but it gets so scary. Like, come upstairs. That like that voice.
yep.
I just wanted to crawl under the seat.
Yeah. So there you go. You got double the Shutter recommendation right there. Skinamarink. I would not recommend Skinamarink to like all people.
No, I
Like,
would not.
no, like
Yeah.
unless you're like really into like art house horror, not you're probably not gonna be a thing. I always like to, if I can, have three recommendations. This is the new movie one that I have, which is Summoning Sylvia. And this doesn't actually come out for a couple more weeks, but I wanted to throw this out there. It is like an hour and 15-minute horror comedy about a gay bachelor party that was specifically planned to be in a haunted house so that they could do a seance.
Okay.
And then when the soon to be bride, his brother and future brother-in-law, who's in the military and is a very straight-laced guy, shows up to join the party, things get weird. And this is like the whole cast is hilarious and such a blast. And smaller role from Michael Urie, who's Brian in Shrinking. So like the gay best friend character in that plays the husband in the soon to be husband. It's such a fun time.
Mhm.
I laughed a lot watching this,
Yeah.
and it really subverts your expectations on what you think this movie's going to be.
Mhm.
And all for 75 minutes. So it's really
That's
nice.
the biggest selling point right there.
Yeah, it's like bam, got 75 minutes, have a lot of fun.
Give it best picture.
There you go. Speaking of best picture, segue. This was the third time I watched Everything Everywhere all at once over the weekend because I had my Oscar party, but from 1 o'clock leading up to it, I did a Best Picture nominee movie marathon, and my friends voted for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Banshees of Inisherin, and Top Gun Maverick. So we watched the three of them, and I have Everything Everywhere All at Once on 4K. So this is my third time watching it, second time at home, and it's also on Showtime. So if you have access to Showtime, you could stream it right now. But just it earned it. Like
Hmm.
Banshees was my personal favorite movie from last year, but like I can't be mad at Everything Everywhere All at Once winning Best Picture. It was the most unique, creative, dynamic, and bold film. And it made me so happy. Like it was the weirdest film to win Best Picture since Shape of Water.
Hmm.
Like, and that doesn't happen a lot where they pick weird. So it really made me happy watching that again. And for the third time watching it, still just as amazing and like
Hmm.
gut punch to you. And the whole cast is amazing. Say what you will about if Jamie Lee Curtis
I know.
deserves an Oscar or not. Just throwing that out there.
Hmm.
And I'm going to be so shamelessly plugging an appearance I'm going to be making on the Infinity Film podcast with my buddies Ben and Rod. They like to do ranked episodes. So like they'll pick a filmmaker or an actor and we rank their S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, F tier films. And we're doing Sean Levy.
Yeah.
And so I have a bunch of movies that I have to catch up on that I haven't watched of his. There's like six of them that I
Hmm.
hadn't seen. I was surprised how many of them I had seen, to be
Hmm.
perfectly honest. But I did finally watch The Third Night at the Museum because I had never watched it.
Hmm.
I'm a huge fan of the first one. The second one I still have tons of fun with. It's very bloated.
Hmm.
Um, I'm pretty sure it's like close to 2 hours, and they just crammed
Yeah.
as many characters as possible. And then honestly, Secret of the Tomb had its moments and really got me a
Yeah.
little bit emotionally because like it does wrap up the trilogy. And also the Hugh Jackman cameo as Hugh Jackman performing in Camelot in it was chef's kiss. Also, Dan Stevens as Lancelot was like perfect casting. It was a lot of fun. Rebel Wilson was just a lot for me, and her falling in love with a caveman played by Ben Stiller was the weirdest thing in any of these movies. And I thought, like, why'd you have Ben Stiller fall in love with Amelia Earhart, like, wax statue in the second one? And then they go back to the well and have another love story. I'm just like, but why? But anyway, also Dick Van Dyke popped up in it for like a couple of minutes. I'm like, it
Oh,
got me
he was in the
excited.
first one,
Yeah.
like a big
So
character.
the three of them make a cameo in the third one. The
Yeah.
three like Mickey Rooney's in it. And
Who's the third guy? I'm blanking.
I don't know his name. He's an older black actor.
I know.
Yep, I know his face, but I don't know the actor's name. But yeah, so I'm gonna be watching a few Sean Levy films. Like I haven't seen Just Married.
Have you seen
I
Big Fat Liar?
I
Is that
have
one
seen that one. I used to watch that a lot as a kid.
classic?
Yep.
Paul Giamatti, Blue, Dabba Dee Dabba Die.
And I watched Cheaper by the Dozen a couple times in the past, so like I didn't rewatch that one. I have to watch. I've never actually sat and watched the Pink Panther
Hmm.
with Steve Martin in it. Sean Levy did some work with Steve Martin. That was interesting. And then what's it called? The one that's on Netflix right now just got added to Netflix. It has like a crap ton of people in it. This is Where I Leave You. I'm super excited to
Oh
watch it.
yeah,
It has
yeah.
Jason Bateman and Adam Driver and a whole bunch of people in it. I also have to watch The Internship. And I'm
Okay.
like,
Yeah,
you mean the one with Robert De Niro and Annie Hathaway's
yeah.
intern? But anyway, so be watching a lot of Sean Levy, but I did enjoy the third. I just think the Night at the Museum movies are nice, sweet little films.
I do too. Have you seen Real Steel?
I love Real Steel.
Yeah.
Real Steel was my favorite one up until I watched Free Guy.
Mm,
Like Real Steel, like it's Rocky with Rock'em Sock'em robots and stuff like
yeah.
that, but like there's so much heart to it.
Yeah.
And I really love Hugh Jackman and Evangeline Lilly in it. And pretty sure Anthony Mackie's Um, but I love Hugh Jackman. So like
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman's great in it. That was interesting time for Hugh Jackman trying to branch out into other family friendly things. It's not X-Men.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I'll probably see some other Sean Levy recommendations popping up soon before I do that podcast. But Foster, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thanks for bringing me on again.
And I'm sure Foster will be back plenty for my next director, which I'm still holding back on without telling anybody publicly on my show yet, but that'll be coming soon. Still got up until the end of May to wrap up John Carpenter, so we got 2.5 months left. The most important thing, thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.